Alright YouTubers, got another review here for you of a knife from Victorinox that was made by them after they purchased out Wenger, the other official / original maker of the Swiss Army knife. They both lay claim to it, and they both made really good pieces of equipment. And so Victorinox finally bought out Wenger, and they made what they call the Delamont collection, which you can see inscribed on the blade back here if I had better camera equipment. And this is essentially kind of maintaining homage and fidelity to the Wenger design, just with the Victorinox badge. Now, I spent a while looking this knife over on the internet trying to find a solid review, and there was a really good one, I think. It was in Spanish, from a dude in Spain. I don't speak Spanish, so it was useless to me. And then there was another guy that just unboxed it from the Ukraine, I believe. But he didn't talk much about it and give a solid review because he hadn't used it yet. So here is, after about 3 months of solid use out and around the yard and in the garden, my review of the Victorinox Rangergrip 71 Gardener from the Delamont collection. The blade, first off, Victorinox has a pretty solid blade. It's not the toughest steel in the world, but it's not the softest steel in the world. It gets the job done, holds its edge long enough and well enough for you to work hard with it, and it's easy enough to sharpen that you don't have to spend a lot of time, effort, or energy in maintaining this edge. It's kind of a best of both worlds, which is one of those reasons I'm a huge fan of this grade of steel. Another solid benefit to it is you will find it will burr or bend before it will chip or break, which is a benefit that you don't get with the slightly higher carbon, tougher steels. And that's kind of where you choose what's important to you, what doesn't matter. Those higher carbon steels maintain an edge more effectively for a longer period of time, but when they break, they break. When they chip, and that's all she wrote. And so this knife, 3.9 inches long, for as much as that matters. You have a 4-inch blade. Long enough and sharp enough to do a lot of all the work you need. One complaint I have about it is it's not super heavy. And for me that matters because I like to baton with my knife. I've carried around in the garden a K-bar mule. You can see my review of that. It's a half-a-pound knife, and it's really tough, and I can baton with it and chop like a tiny little machete, and it's nice. This whole unit is pretty hefty, but when it comes to swinging the blade, you don't get that benefit from it. That's my personal feeling on it. Most people probably aren't going to be too worried about it because there's also these giant pruning scissors. These suckers are tough, man. They're not going to substitute or replace your bypass pruners, and they're not delicate enough to replace your small pruning scissors for small floral activities. But honestly, they're a great balance between the two. And if you're just carrying one tool around the yard, just doing kind of utility work and general maintenance, these things fit the bill. They fold right away, they're tough, they're sharp, and you can put a lot of punishment on them, in my experience. I've got a tiny little burr in here. I was cutting a thicker chunk of grapevine that I have growing on the side of my garage, just to see what it could do. And best part is, if your knife or your scissors don't do it, you have this 4-inch long saw. Now, I've talked about before in my Swiss Tool Spirit review, the Victorinox saws. In terms of pocket saws, you can't beat it. You just can't. I love these saws to death. They dig aggressively on fresh or dry wood. And with this guy, you have a pretty long length to get a good draw on, which, I mean, granted it's not an arborist saw or anything, we're talking about something that fits in your pocket, but this is a pretty long saw for something that fits in your pocket, and there's just not a saw on the market that cuts better than this for multi-tools or pocket saws. And that folds away. On the knife here you have this little button. This is one of those Wenger shout outs. This is your liner lock release. You can kind of see it moving in there to allow you to close it. Comes with a toothpick. I've used it more for creating holes for seeds than anything else. And tweezers, super handy getting those thorns or slivers out. And then a corkscrew. The Swiss love putting corkscrews on stuff. I would have rather seen an awl or a screwdriver, perhaps, but that's what they give you, and it's useless to me. I don't drink much. I'm not a huge wine person when I do drink, so it's just kind of useless weight. But for those of you that love to drink and garden, there you go. Sweet little deal. Also, a semi-useless key ring. This thing is too large and heavy to do any keys with. However, it does give you an opportunity to put a lanyard on there, which actually makes it not useless, so I take that back. In my opinion, this thing has been indispensable around the yard. I love it. I wouldn't trade it for anything, and I recommend it wholeheartedly. Great for cutting softer wood or branches or weeds, utility, cutting purposes, twine, things like that. The scissors are super tough. Great compromise between bypass pruners and your floral scissors, and the saw just can't be beat. I can't think of much else to say about it. I do think this is a slightly limited purpose knife. If you want a great knife of similar size for just general use around the places that you go anywhere, I wouldn't recommend this. There's other Rangergrip models, there's other Victorinox or Wenger models out there that will do you well. But if you are working a lot with plants, if you're working a lot in the garden or the yard, this is a super awesome tool. I have a little pouch here that I carry. It has this, a multi-tool, and a hoary gardening knife, and there's nothing that I can't accomplish around the yard and the house. So there you have it. Slightly limited purpose, but for that purpose it is indispensable. The Victorinox Rangergrip 71 Gardener Delamont Collection.